welcome. It's me, Percita, and this is Percita's Paradox. It is Tuesday. I'm so happy you are here with me, beginning of the week, getting our groove on and ready to make things happen. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you, your time, and your viewing. And if you're an OG, as usual, thank you so much for coming in and joining me today. Hope all has been well with you, and let's get it cracking. So, today I wanted to talk about communication, and I wanted to talk about it on a level of really understanding what we can and cannot do in order to really make our communication with ourselves and also other people effective. Now, in saying that, we always have to understand that everyone really has their own mechanisms in how they really transfer words through their brain to actually taking it from the brain to comprehension. And if you think about it as a funnel, in that funnel, everyone has what I like to call experiences, right? Or pit stops or potholes or whatever you would want to call it in order to process the information, what we would consider properly. Now, in saying properly, it gets a little tricky because it all is determined about what we're trying to communicate and how we are trying to get the information out to one another. And what makes that complicated is sometimes our way of communicating is not the way that others need us to communicate for them to comprehend. Prime example. Most people don't identify that the average person cannot hear you if your tone is not a pleasant or distinctly pleasurable tone to the other person that's receiving. So there is a communicator and then there's a receiver. The receiver has to be in a position of being able to hear the sounds that are coming out of your mouth. Now, I have this conversation a lot in my household. I'm sure you all have had this conversation. And it basically is talking about the way a person phrases their words, how their cadence is, what their sound comes about, what words they enunciate and really punch, and so on and so forth. In saying that, if you're talking in a manner that you don't understand the individual that you're talking to, and you don't really comprehend the way they actually transition and how they move with their words towards you. Because typically you give what you're looking for. Sounds crazy, but a soft-spoken person doesn't really particularly like you really yelling at them, right? Or giving them too much eye contact or too much of anything. So if you're that type of person and you're communicating with the soft-spoken person, then it works. If you're aggressive and a little abrasive, maybe more in the identity of being blunt because you feel as if it's truth, so there's no really, there's no reason to sugarcoat truth, even though we'll get back to that. It's not about it being true, it's just the way you're saying it. You want to be conscious of how you really move and speak in that manner to the soft-spoken person. Now, I'll be honest with you. It took me years to really comprehend what I'm saying to you because I have always been of the liberty of believing that if I'm clear to myself and if I understand what I'm saying, then everyone else should understand what I'm saying. What I'm starting to understand is that that's not true at all. That everyone has a way. So here's working me today. Everyone has a way of communicating, and in that communication, it is key to give off a sense of knowledge of who the person is and a sense of respect. So in saying that, it's very complicated for people who don't feel as if they need to know their environment or their audience when they're communicating to understand how to communicate better. You want to always be conscious, no matter really what setting you're in, from a love situation, meaning your spouse or your children, to a work environment, to being out at the store or just in a general setting in public. You want to be conscious of just what I like to call general rules of engagement when you're trying to communicate. And one of those things are really paying attention to your audience. So when you're getting ready to speak to someone, you really want to stop and just ask yourself, is it a soft-spoken person? Is it the type of person that really is not confrontational and doesn't really want me jarring words down their throat. Now, I'll be honest, I've never met even a blunt person who wants that type of energy pushed back on them. But sometimes we're either excited or we're over exuberant or maybe angry, and we don't really stop to think about what those words and the way those words are coming out can actually transcend to people. I'm having this conversation because I felt as if it was necessary, because I've been noticing a lot more than usual that because we are interacting on a digital platform across the board, so many meetings are happening on Zoom. I mean, they were happening on Zoom prior, but it's really become a staple for companies to really be in a Zoom atmosphere. There's an etiquette and a protocol that I don't think people are actually paying attention to, that you really want to not only do in that environment, but you also want to really make sure that you're attentive when it comes to being in someone's presence. And because we're social distancing, I think we've gotten out of the habit of just really understanding what that communication should look like. So today, we're just going to hit a few points and make sure that we are in that space of understanding. So I want to give you a little backlog of what I'm thinking. So I wanted to back it up a little bit to just really bring in what this is about. When we are trying to reach our goals and when we are trying to attract a certain type of energy or person or experience or opportunity, our words are, of course, powerful because we talk about that all the time. But you also want to be conscious that your words and the way that you express them can be detrimental or very advantageous, right? So you have to really walk a very thin line in regards to how that looks to you and to other people. Now, I, of course, have this, I'm going to call it a heavy voice. Some people go, oh my God, Percita, you don't have a heavy voice. I feel like I have a heavy voice. I can feel the vibrato in my voice when I speak in my diaphragm. Therefore, I'm conscious of it. I also know that I tend to come off extremely haphazard, extremely non-involved, right? It's something that I don't always want to give off. It's something that I think that I've mastered just in the process of the way I was raised and in the way that I've had to conduct myself in business. I've done a lot of leadership things, so it's always been more of a saving face or really not showing an emotional thing. I will say that has backfired on me a lot in my latter years and in my years of trying to be more in a personable space, because I don't really feel like most people really believe I have emotions sometimes because of the way that I speak. So I'm working on that in myself. And what I'm working on is not only expressing my emotions, but also being more in a space of trying to be more empathetic in the way the words come out. I mean, I'm of course, now I'm a no nonsense type of person. I don't do excuses and procrastinating, and I can say all those things, but I'm actually the type of person that actually executes those types of things. Therefore, I don't know if I can always be conscious of what's coming off of me. So I've now been identified in my own spirit to say, proceed to be very conscious about the words that you're using towards people or the way that you speak is in regards to your tone. So I'm proposing that because if you're that type of person also, and let's say you're a take charge type of person and you are used to that type of energy that you want to exude and you want to get people going, and you might even put a little fear in them a little bit. Just be conscious of the simple fact that actually can backfire on you, because when you need them to really be more on a sense of opening up and actually giving you information, you may put them in a position where they feel as if they're going to let you down, or as if you're going to judge them, or you're not going to be in a space of really being as receptive as you are. I know I have been told several times throughout my life from people that I actually care about deeply that they didn't want to disappoint me. And I've grown conscious of the fact that that's not necessarily the energy that I always want to exude out. There's a time and a place, and I'm learning the balance between it. So I'm saying that because even in the Zoom atmosphere, you'll find that person who is extremely vocal, right? And they're used to doing talking, and they're used to doing maybe most of all the talking. But even we know that in that environment, you can talk over a person and not really know you're talking over a person and actually be in a space where the person starts to feel some kind of a way about you because they think that you're doing it intentional and you're not. And when you're the type of person that I am, sometimes you think more is better. And again, sometimes you think because you have something great to say or you might be solving a problem or whatever it is, right? Because we're special, that you're thinking you want to get out is more important than the way that you're saying it or at the timing that you're saying it. So I just wanted to come on and go, I'm going to use myself as an example today. As great as I know and believe that I am, I definitely feel as if that is something that I can work on. I continue to work on it because of my doctoral degree and what I want to do it in. I'm very conscious of being a little more receptive to the fact that I may want to be slower to speak and listen with an intent and an attentive ear at the same time that has more of a soft approach and a softer energy to it. Now, look, I'm old in the game, so I'm not telling you that I'm going to be like right on top of it instantaneously. It's just something that I'm working on. And I'm working on it, of course, first with people that I actually care about. I know that sounds terrible, but that's just the fact. Outside of that, we'll do what we can do. But I definitely wanted to come on and just give you myself as an example in that arena of the bold and the blunt and how we can do better. Now, in the exact same breath, if you're passive aggressive, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that it is so much easier for you to actually ask the questions than it is for you to assume a person's going to know. I'm going to also say that it is so much easier to communicate what you're feeling instead of imploding within yourself and being upset about it. It's always a very hard task for anyone across the board to own when you're making a mistake or when your communication skills are off. I have noticed the sarcasm that comes with passive aggressive communication and tones can definitely throw anybody off. I think it throws off my personality more than ever because of the simple fact that I don't really know where it's coming from. And because I'm the type of person that wants to solve problems, I'm completely taken aback and then I don't want to talk to you anymore. Other people find themselves spinning their wheels trying to figure out what they did wrong with the passive aggressive communicator. And the problem with that is that neither one is going to actually get to a place where they are going to solve the problem. At least if you talk to someone blunt and you're a passive aggressive person and you're speaking to someone who's a little bit more on the blunt side, the blunt person is going to pretty much jump down your throat to try to figure out what the frickety frat is happening, right? But a passive aggressive person to either a passive aggressive person or a passive aggressive person who's talking to a softer spoken person, you're just going to completely miscommunicate altogether and never get the solution handled. So you really want to take the time, if that's you, and if you're the person they should just know. I mean, we've known each other this long or whatever it is you want to say. Or, I've completely communicated what I want, but you're giving mixed signals and you understand it in one sense. You're telling something, but you're spinning the wheel in a manner that the person can't communicate back to you and reiterate what you said, then that would pretty much fall into a passive aggressive dynamic. Just try to communicate better. Take it slower, break it down so that you're actually able to express yourself without feeling as if you have to be upset about it. Or the person is intentionally trying to hurt you. Or you need to defend yourself in whatever the conversation could be. And again, this is not just personal anymore. I realize people are uber sensitive in the world right now. So your work environment could be this way. You could definitely be running into a boss or a colleague that's this way. Just take the time to, instead of getting upset with the passive aggressive, to try your best to communicate and get as much information out of them to allow yourself that information to do better with your communication between each other, because that's the whole key. The soft-spoken person, the last person that I'll talk about on this video, the hardest part for you is to actually believe that you have a place and that you deserve to be able to speak. You really want to know that you absolutely have a place and you absolutely deserve to speak. And it is up to you to stand in that validity. Now, of course, this is not easy. And coming as a blunt person, I could say that wholeheartedly. Girl, guy, you should be able to do that instantaneously. It takes you affirming yourself every day. And it takes you understanding that even if you don't know if what you're saying is right, you still have a right to speak it. You still want to obviously use respect and protocol from every perspective. If you're a blunt person, passive aggressive person, or soft spoken person, you still want to move and always function first in respect to anyone you're speaking to. But in the exact same breath, to digress back, the soft spoken person really just doesn't always feel as if they want the confrontation, nor do they feel as if they are saying something smart sometimes. And I just want you to know you're all those things, regardless. If it's smart, if it's not smart, if you believe it is, if you don't, speak it. Put it in the atmosphere, see what happens. It's just what it is. Now, for my people who are just kind of like, girl, well, I'm just dingy and I just like to say stuff. You don't have an issue with speaking. Usually you're the person that's more on the blunt side. You're not really soft-spoken and you're not passive-aggressive. But some soft-spoken people become passive-aggressive because they use their sarcasm as a defense mechanism to kind of throw something out and see what the atmosphere is and then snatch it back if it doesn't work out. So I want you all to be able to identify who you are in this conversation of who we're talking about and just try to apply the few things that I said. Not going to really dig deep into it because it's really a touchy situation and not a lot of people want to talk about it. But I want you to know that communication is everything. So if you're not able to communicate to each other, you're going to have a hard time really accomplishing your goals, because typically big goals, things that are fantastically wonderful in the world, right? Even if it's something as simple as like cleaning your home. If you live with more than one person, you have to be able to communicate to make this fabulous, clean, great smelling home happen. And in saying that, if you're not able to communicate your expectations and what you want and how you expect it to happen, it won't get done. So the blunt person has to learn how to speak with some sense of empathy with their respect. The passive aggressive person has to learn how to speak without the sarcasm and with more respect. And the soft-spoken person has to understand that they will be respected when they speak because they're saying something important. So hopefully that was some good information for you today. I just wanted to touch on it because I'm noticing people are doing some real iffy things when it comes to communicating with people. And regardless, people, everyone deserves respect. If they're not giving you respect, that's a completely different video. But my point remains, you personally want to start in a respectful tone. Now, where it goes from there, God only knows. But you should always start there. Okay? In the end, as always, remember, in all of that, you still have to do those three things. Live your life authentic. You are the prize, no matter what. So live your life authentic. That means that when people meet you and they're speaking to you, it's a gift for your information to come out, and it's a gift for you to be there. Believe that. Know that. Own that. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate your time. I greatly appreciate you coming on. Remember to like and share and subscribe. Hit the notification button so that you make sure you get all the videos. Make sure you comment if you're feeling, some need to say something to me. And again, there's always my email address in the comments if you like to send something there. Comment with each other also. It doesn't always have to be me just commenting to you. And I apologize, but I typically like to let all of the comments come in before I actually respond. So I am like on a day delay. So don't think it's just you. I kind of do it for everybody because I want to actually see everything at one time. Okay? Other than that, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your time. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.